Hi, this is Bernie with Connections Consulting here in our Strathmore Greater Calgary Market in our hidden meeting room where we won't tell you about today. But we're going to teach you a bit about the selling process like we promised earlier this week, end of last week, on our Facebook note and other places in our social media. So taking the orders is really the goal, and there is a process to follow, but it's quite relational. And our hope is at the end of our courses, our goal, and we know it from our initiative and our past results, we'll give you the keys to make you a success in this fruitful effort of selling. It's a very valid thing to do, and the course of history shows many people through the years have made great wads of money selling to their customers and taking care of them in what we now know today as a term called customer relation management, or CRM, some companies call it. So this is what we're going to talk about today. And there's 8 steps in the process that I've personally defined through the advent of learning from other people and my own experience through the course of my life. And so we have our own defined terms on how it works, and the success has been a result track record of double throughout the course of my life in increase in business. So the keys will be yours today. We're touching on 2 of the modules in our 1 full day, and it's also a 2-day course in sales management at Connections Consulting. The communication module, we'll touch a bit on that, and the sales growth module. Now there's 8 full modules plus another 3 that encompass approach, area, and experience if you're more in a retail environment or both. This course does cater to people in a business-to-business marketing type role where you're dealing with key accounts and you're kind of the sole breadwinner of the account money they're paying to buy your goods and services, and often, 6 and 7 figure sometimes purchases, so it's a big deal. But there is a flavor to this talk today that people working in retail, in grocery store shelf, that kind of work, just simple basic products on the shelf, and your job is there meeting the public if you're the worker or manager or supervisor of the store, gas station, cafe, restaurant, whatever. There's elements that can be taken from this course to help you as well, but it is more focused on the business-to-business marketer dealing with key accounts and going out and calling on the business. The second course, called customer service, is more specifically towards people that are in both either business-to-business marketing or a retail environment dealing with basic, simplistic, consumable items that we need every day. So that's that. We're going to move on. If you're interested in that, be sure to listen today and see. This should be about a 30-minute talk at the most. And we're covering off what we call it our sales book. And it's all the things you need to do to sell. And it's built on customer relations. So that's a key here. And, I guess I have a dart in my hand, right? If you don't have a target to aim at with that dart, it's not much good to you. So, like an ice cube tray, we're going to give you a container of things here today so you can go out and make ice with everything that you have to put into your container, so to speak. And you got to find your target. You got to know what you're good at, what things are interesting to you in life or of interest to you, and you go out and apply these skills. And it is a skill. Some people have this, like other things in life. It's a learned skill, but there's people that are born with it too, and it's just intuitive, and they know how to do it. Like, for example, there's people that know how to play the piano by ear, and they've never read notes, they've never taken lessons, and they just pick it up and they play at a grade 8 level, and grade 8 is the top in piano playing, classical or whatever, and it's a gifted skill, and people are born with it. It's intrinsic in who they are. carpentry. I've heard stories of people like that. They just have a knack, or even hockey players that are good enough to make it to the NHL, and they just had that ability. It wasn't, they could go to all the clinics and learn whatever, but that guy was just really good at it. And sometimes the issue is, do they really want to apply themselves with that born skill? Now there's other people, they can acquire the skill. So you go to courses and you learn, and you can become the best at it because people that have the skill will teach you. And that's what we've done. And I have a bit of both, because I have this skill in me, but I've also learned some things from other people. So we're going to talk about that today. So the first step along the way is, I call it in our module, in our model at Connections Consulting, the hug. If you can see the board there, there's 8 defined skills, and we're going to talk about 2 main things: your work and your skill. Okay? And so there's the hug, number 1. Number 2 in your sales book is the offer. Number 3, the needs or problems that the customer potentially has and what your solution will be. Number 4, communication. Number 5, terms. What is the terms of your offer? And based on what they need as well. And then relationships long term, number 6. Number 7, keeping them. Number 8, rounding them up. So rounding the people up. So those are the 8 kind of categories in the sales process as we've defined it at CCI Connections Consulting. So business to business is often higher value products you charge a lot of money for, and hopefully you're making good margin at, because it's something people need, and it usually has a high cost of production in it, and so therefore it's priced quite high, in terms of the coming out of the manufacturer or the factory. And I think, if you're a great leader at work, you'll think about what you got in your hand right now. This isn't to invite you to, take off and go get some other job. It's about what are you doing right now? Can you make your skills better if you're a salesperson? And that's why you'd come to one of my courses. There are some people that may step into this industry or type of work in selling as well. But that's kind of where we're at. And with that, who in your family might already be doing it? And is it something you can even ask advice from a personal friend or someone you know close and love and care about, who would give you honest advice you can trust about how they made their, advent in sales come true, where they did well and got ahead in living. We got the mortgage to pay and all that. Everybody's got rent or monthly bills, and it's a good way you can get up a leg in life and make it from there, because you get bonuses or commission on top of your salary. And some people are maybe less salary and more commission. It depends on who you're working for in the advent of that. There's different ways, and people have different ideas in how to pay their salespeople and who should be rewarded the best. There's averages and bonuses sometimes. Sometimes if you're the home run hitter, you're making the big money in your sales force compared to people that are earning less. So my goal is to help you become the best you can be at any of our courses, and this one's specifically about sales. So the hug, that means get to know people. I've defined it that way because sometimes when something has a bit of a funny flavor, and I'm not in that great of a mood today, so I don't know, hopefully I can make you laugh a bit and enjoy this, but sometimes, I'm just being honest, it's hard. And, the hug is a word so that you remember it, but what it really means is getting to know people in a friendly way. And the only time I've ever been hugged is mainly, other than in my own family once in a while at special occasions, is sometimes in a church or a bar I've had people hug me. One big guy, was kind of a, you'd think he was like a tough guy that would break your legs if someone was in that order of things. And I bought him a beer on my birthday celebration, and on his way out, he kind of come up and give me a little hug, strong arm hug, and I was surprised. I was going to shake his hand, but you know what? That's people's way of telling you they care about you and they want you around, and they're a good friend, hopefully. And so I've worded it this way so you remember it's like warming up to someone, and it takes time. You don't just go in thinking you're owning the world overnight necessarily. Sometimes things come to that way to you quick, but it's not always that way. It takes time to get to know people, and you can have the best selling technique possible, but if you don't know people and have a valid reputation with them through your work and your course of your work, it's harder to get to know and sell something to someone, because who are they going to buy off? Buy off of someone they trust and they know and they've been dealing with, or some new guy that's just shouting at them with all his whatever technical knowledge, and they just don't know. He's like telling them so much about everything, and they're just meeting them like they don't really know him. So the hug is a word. So you focus on take steps all the time to get to know people, your customers, your potential customers, and you'll figure that out in terms of rounding up what you're selling and who your market is. But there's always ways to get to know people, and you got to be definite about it, and you got to know that you want to warm up to people in a hug type scenario where I'm using that word. It doesn't mean you go around hugging people necessarily, but find a way to get to know them and talk. And if you're out in public, just try to meet people and try to find something in common in a good way. As I'll give you an example. I was out in the bar, just went in for a couple hours to go listen to karaoke and enjoy myself. People, just be around people having fun in that environment and singing, and there's a pool table and stuff, and people come up to the bar and sit down, and you're sitting there, and some guy, he come up beside me and he ordered this drink I'd never seen before in my entire life. And I've been around a while. I'm kind of an old guy, and older, not like I'm not retired. But anyways, he ordered a drink, and it was like in a cup that was like 3 times the size of a shooter glass, but it was still a small cup. And I'm not advocating drinking either way. That's not what this point's about. But it was something I'd never seen, uncommon. And the lady serving at the bar put in a power drink in it, like one of those, those ones you buy in the cans that give you the energy boost, and then some kind of shot like a Royal Blue tequila or something. And so lots of people don't ever talk. They just come beside each other in lineups for entry into grocery stores or whatever, and they don't ever talk. They're just going about their day. And sometimes people talk, but if you're in a people kind of business and you want, so I just said to him, I asked, so what is that drink you're drinking? I was just kind of curious. Got talking to him a bit. Oh, it's a Jägermeister, blah, blah, blah. Anyhow, so you make one more person that you kind of know about or said hi to, and maybe next time you're in public you see that guy at Starbucks, at the cafe, or whatever, and this is how you build continual relationships and friendships in an area where you do business, where you're seeing people on a regular basis. And a fair chunk of my market is like that. There's remote as well, where you're dealing over the phone and the internet as well. So you got to look at both. Now the second point is the offer. Now what have you got to offer? You have to define it. And I was selling at age 12 because we delivered papers for a newspaper route for a big city firm in our small town. My 3 brothers and I all did that for the whole town at different phases, and it fell onto my last brother. He had the whole town. When us 3 older ones moved away, we had it split into 3 sections. We had our own territory. My youngest brother picked up the whole chain at the end. But anyways, at age 12, I made my first sale in terms of having to go knock on somebody's door. And this is in my Bernie May story, about 5 or 6 articles down from the top in LinkedIn. You can read about it too. But Knock on a door, somebody you've never met, or you might have known of them, but they're not buying the paper because you know who is. Ask them if they want to buy it. Tell them, why they might be interested in it. A couple things you'd think their flavor of person would like the sports or the news page or whatever. Tell them how much it costs, what their options are. They can just get it on the weekends, or they can get it all through the whole week and the weekend, what the rates are per month or week, and then quote them, and then go back if they didn't make a decision, ask them if there's a time you can come back in, and then go get the deal and book it, and then collect the accounts receivable every 2 weeks as well. So at age 12, we were already dealing with these concepts, and they're still very usable in adult life today in the, I don't want to say real sales world. We were already in it back then, but in my LinkedIn, I guess there's public speaking. Well, actually, I didn't mention that. That is one of my top 5 courses. It wasn't, I'll come back to that later. So that's your offer. You define it and you tell them what it looks like and the costs. And then you find out what their needs are, because you don't know what they need, but as soon as you tell them a little bit, then you start to ask them the questions, right? And a bad sales agent, or not bad, but one that's poorly trained or doesn't know how to do it very well or very intuitive at it, will tell you everything, tell, and never really give the customer a chance to talk. And there's a point when you tell them a certain amount and you can see that you've got their interest a little bit in things. You got to ask them some things too. Give them a chance to find out, what is it? Is there anything on your mind that you'd like to ask me about anything I've told you so far? Instead of giving them the whole, A to Z, because for one thing, you might not have to. You might be wasting a lot of both of your time, and you might be able to just, after you've told them a bit, then find out what they're looking for, right? And I think maybe salespeople, I've had some bad experiences in certain stores through my life. The reason they don't ask is they're scared, the fear of not knowing the answer to the question. And that should never be a problem. All you gotta do is find them the answer. If you don't have it, give them a time frame and get back to them. But you're gonna have a better likelihood of getting them what they need, making the sale for your deal so you can get ahead in life, but getting them what they need so you got one more happy customer on the way with what they came in for. And it takes a lot of the conflict, that old kind of adage about salesmen where people put them down, and that's part of the reason why, because it's people that aren't doing it well, it feels like conflict to you when you really want to get out what you want to say and no one's asked you, and you also feel like nobody cares about you if they don't ask. So those are the 2 things there. So when you've addressed that, that's point number 3. You're going to have, you'll come up with a solution when you find out what they really need and what the problem is. And I'm going to just walk over to the board for 1 second here. And in this top area here, my slim figure, okay, I'm going to write something on here. It's that other thing. At this point, in that top 3 parts of the process, there's something in the way of getting the sale done. And you don't know what it is. But you gotta really go slow here and be sure you know what you're doing, because if you make assumptions, you'll tick the guy off, the person off. And, so don't zone out. Don't start, this is not the time, because this person wants to buy. They're in finding information at this point. So you don't start talking about the hockey game or switch to small talk. This is a part of the selling process, and this is a big 8-point lifetime process that you just keep going over and over in different aspects of it. This is where you stay focused, okay? So now you've addressed his problem, you've come up with a solution, and you didn't go off on a tangent about that other thing, whether it's your own insecurity, or you're assuming what you think he wants and you don't know, or you think you know, but you don't really know. And maybe there's a threat in the store too, and both of you feel uncomfortable for some reason too. But outside of that, where you would address some kind of safety issue or lifetime concern going on, you want to just keep with this guy. Don't let interruptions take you away. That's the biggest disconcerting thing to a customer, when they feel walked over, when they're going to lay their cash down and they're going to buy something off you right there. And in salespeople that don't get through this discomfort, I want to say fail, but they'll just always be bottom selling, low producing people. You're never going to make more than a very moderate living, and you won't be in the top. My brother, I'm just going to take a minute and show you a picture of him. This is my brother, Rod May. If you can see that, that's with my mom and his daughter. And that was at a family golf tournament. We get together 4 or 5 times annually for events. That's how we stay together as a family and get along in life. And that's important with the people closest to you, but I won't take time on that. But yeah, he has been with the company, I think now 16 years, and I actually introduced him to the guy because I heard about this job, and I didn't think I was looking for that, but I thought he might be interested, because I think change was in his sails right then, and in his wind of his sails, and so he's been with them, I think, 16 years, and right from the get-go, he was top President's Club, where they take the top performers who hit all these goals on these nice Bahama cruises and island trips and tropical, and they have a bit of a sales meeting at it, but their spouses get to go, and it's all you can eat, nice resort. It's awesome, okay? And this is the type of rewards good companies do with their people. And, so I guess what I'm saying is the people that in those top 3 areas don't lose focus when the customer's really inquiring and don't slough it off, you're going to do well. So if you get that right, now let's move on to quickly the bottom half of the 8 points. And is there anything else there? I guess public speaking is the other thing, and I don't show it as one of my top 5 courses in my Bernie May biography on LinkedIn, but a lot of people fear public speaking like death and taxes, the 2 worst things, and public speaking is supposed to be, to most people, like that. Well, there's some good courses, and there's one right here in Calgary. The Irene Murray College is one of them, and some of these, they let you practice. They do it on videotape, and then other people give you feedback, and you kind of learn how to improve yourself, how to speak more confidently and congruently with what you're doing, because you like what you do, you don't hate it. Come to work wanting to win, not disposing of people, chasing them away, like these are and they teach you some of these things, and if you're in the wrong profession, like honestly, if you're a waitress or or a curator of a museum or something, and your inner heart is telling you, your sort of inner gut instinct or intuition, you'd like to work with small children in a daycare setting, maybe own one yourself, but at least run one or participate in one as I don't know what they call them, teachers. I've never had kids in daycare. I kind of went through that prior to that and had different ways set up, I guess, in my situations, but involving family and stuff. But if you think you're supposed to be doing something like that, don't ignore those signals. Stick with the job you're doing, make your money, you got to pay your bills, well, you have to, and figure out a way to get into the line of work you believe you're meant to be in. Most people, I think, most people are doing what they probably have skills they were born with to do. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it. But the odd time you meet someone, they're just totally miserable, and they hate their work. They can't stand it, and they kind of, they stay stuck in it, and they should move on to what they really would like to do. But anyway, I encourage you in that, and let's move on to communication. And you got to communicate. So a public speaking course, even though in sales you're sometimes just dealing with one person at a time, it can be useful to you. So communicate, communicate, communicate. Keep following up with your customers. Never leave them out of the loop. And that is a key to success. Don't assume they know things. Tell them about sales that are on, instant booking discounts, anything you can do to engage them and keep them plugged into you as the salesperson. You got to do that. You are the manager of the client relationship, and you don't want it to sound that intangible. They're a person. I like to refer to it as customer relations. But as the salesperson or the key account manager or the manager of the business or store, you are the accountable person or the responsible person to make sure it all goes according to Hoyle, as the old saying goes, right? So here is a picture of me with Mel Mullen when I got my graduating certificate in my HR degree in theology, and it's a lot of sales stuff come out of some of that learning as well, and those concepts. I'm going to put that over there to the side. What I'm here to talk to you next about is sales basics. So one of the most basic things you can do is know that it's relationships. Rarely are you selling to a robot or a drone or a automated answering system. You're always usually selling to a human through any of those avenues who's ultimately making a decision, and we all have free choice. And somebody through all the means, there's all the means, the different means, the internet, the phone, the going to see the guy in your vehicle or on foot, or having them, they walk into your office or store or whatever, all the different means, but it's all relationships. So get good at building relationships with the mindset of keeping them long term. And you don't like look at someone and say, I'm going to keep that guy as a long-term friend or whatever. That should just be, this is what we promote. That is your avenue, your way of being is, I'm not here to be a consumer disposable user of friendships and relationships. Anybody that I meet is potentially someone who could be a long-term relationship, a friend, a customer, whatever, of me or my company, and that's the adage we teach. So that's point 6 and 7, keeping them. I skipped over point 5, terms. You got to know what the terms are. If the guy is booking a pallet of totes to go out and spray the weeds out of his crop, when does he want them delivered? Is the price discount hinged on taking early delivery? Is there credit? Is he paying cash, a special price for cash? How are the terms working? If it's on credit, when are the accounts receivable due? All this kind of stuff. So you got to know the terms and make sure they're clear in your conversation as you make the deal, so you're both agreeing to it. A handshake is still a useful and proper thing when you make a business deal. People don't always use it, but it's just one more way of saying, yes, I do. I agree with you. We're doing this. Signing your name on an invoice or a contract, all this kind of stuff. Sometimes just your word is enough. It's, it's in recent years, it's been, there's a lot more hinges and stuff that go on to make sure people are locked into an agreement. But at the end of the day, the customer's got to want the product, and you got to want to sell it to them, and those are the two key things. This is my brother. His name's Rich, and his family, his son and his daughter. Jordan is just graduated and going to university. He's an engineer. That's his wife, Krista. And He's an engineer, and the reason I'm telling you about this, there's certain mindsets or ways of thinking that are natural to sales and executive account management. If you're an executive account manager, engineers, people that generally are engineers, are good salespeople. Advertising specialists, even religious leaders, and that's I showed you Mel Mullen, my friend there, because they're presenting something to groups of people, right? Even a person who works in a boutique flower shop arranging a beautiful rose petal so you can take it home to your wife or husband, I suppose, on the other hand, or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Those people have an artistic, creative mode in them. They make good salespeople as well because they can think constructively to package together a portfolio. So you got to think about things like that when you're hiring people. If I'm talking to any sales managers today, you never write people off. You can teach them the technical skills as long as they understand the dynamics behind selling and are either learned in them or have that ability, or they have a natural skill in them. And that's kind of a way to go there. Here's my baptism. I'm a Christian, you know that. I don't speak about. I've mentioned. There's probably 4 places you can find it on my internet, on my social media. But I got baptized as a Christian, and there's an old saying in business, and that's the reason I showed you that, is baptism by fire. And I kind of didn't realize some of these came out of the Bible. These business things we use, and that guy got baptized by fire. We're working for that guy, cleaning out that dust hole down there. They sent him down into that boot, and they made him clean it out with ropes and pails. And the real baptism by fire is when you learn, in the business use of the expression, when you learn from someone else and you get what they got. So you got a top executive that's really good at what he does, a good location manager in a retail crop input unit, or grain buyer, merchandiser. And those guys, they win their card through hard work, but they have a skill. And they'll take on in tutelage a young man or young person, young lady. And after a year or two, that person has some of their skill set. It's like it's imparted to them through this coaching and spending time with that person and being around that person. Well, that can be done through media and good books nowadays as well. You pick your leaders. You choose who you follow. One great guy I like as a business consultant mind is Jim Collins, Good to Great. There's some good things. Everybody who's in business should pick that book up. It's a very good one. So that's one of the sayings. Let's move on to the last point. Rounding them up. Like, we're at the half-hour mark. We got to go here pretty quick. And my courses, there's 8 modules. They're all 1 hour each. This is just a